Redbird in the red, indebted to your sky, what woe to rise from heavy ledges round with rye. Blackbird breaks the globe of day, people in the air cannot save. Up above the world so high, they spy horizons of what they are, exchanged for worlds below, the reaching branch, the redbird's home. When day is done and towers tall, all birds are black against the sun. Go Giants!
In my 7th year, I entered the cathedral of the blackbird's wing. I'd found it hunched like a storm on the birch. Why wasn't my mother in there? Why wasn't her body cold in walls of blue bone rising through ladders of smoked light? I looked for what I'd lost. The ink air climbed and swung. I touched the brittle altars. My mother must be made from glass stained like old dry stars. I knelt and felt burnt threads tunneling in new chambers of my skin. Outside, the yard whined a web of thin songs I was only sorry for. And then the keening, a hymn of rain filling my bones like bells tipped up, all gone bird cold. No mother, but I'd found her sleep, great throbbing, night-feathered nest of mercy and devastation. And I lay down.
This snow and ice, clay, dirt, glass under us and a glass sun above, glass hanging from trees, dripping frozen water, yet your steam rises over us and into the frost-scarred sky. Rough-legged hawk hunts, hovers above, and she whispers, "We made it fly." My face blurs the surface of the ice. We will break the water and drink, to sink naked into the frost and lie here between two ranges, this nest of cold air, to sleep, to impose black over all this white. But here we are, touching hands along the ice, and we are frozen but do not freeze.
Way of the wind. Images play across the silver screen of my mind, with dancing blurs and scratches from an old movie. Visions of different lives in a simpler time, like piles of dust scattered from a gust blowing through a crack in the window. That is the way of the wind. Perhaps these pieces of living will shower like soot, staining other people's lives with inspirations of higher goals, haunting them like echoes from a previous life. Perhaps these echoes will dim, becoming incoherent, drowning in the current of the preconscious. That, too, is the way of the wind. A man walks into a diner, his overcoat beaded from rain, sequined like sparkling ashes of a faraway flame. He sets his fedora next to freshly poured coffee, his eyes following steam up to the rounded face of a pretty waitress. She smiles as he tousles his matted hair, as if showing up for a first date. He sips and watches her walk. He watches wrinkles of her pink uniform tug to the whims of her voluptuous curves. She knows he stares. She takes pride that she can steal a man's interest, despite the toll of too many years behind a full-market counter. He holds out his empty cup for her filling, and as she does so, tilting her head and hips as if dancing just for him. At the counter's far end, she swivels to meet his gaze, instead seeing only a $1.50 plus tip by the cup. She watches him vanish out into harsh streets of rain, taking his mystery, in the hope that someone will take her away from this life. Such is the way of the wind.
Quick to spot the slowest wren, he offends our sense of justice. But ravishing, we whisper him like a secret, hawk, and flinch in the doorway, breaths caught, when his shadow grazes our heads. Afterwards, we turn away as from an altar, flushed and straightened, our hearts drumming.
The rain is missing. I stumble under sunny thunder sky. The weather simply does as it chooses, and we all might learn some lesson there. I've been drinking. On the corner, the church's old stone looks thirsty. Nothing's coming. There's a little gauze hanging in the wind, but the sun is beaming. Thunder that is harbinger of nothing, that doesn't tell fortunes. Thunder with no rain, and I regret drinking so much so early, because I can't tell if I heard it at all. A couple snuggles on the bench, their dog panting, and I overhear a man describe a horse as regal. There it is again, that rumble, like a truckload of apples spilling, like a god's big belly, a dog in the sky, landslide from space, ocean of bones.
Yellow-headed blackbird. I waited for you, marking the day when you were a scout, arriving for the apricot blossoms while I found out I was unloved. I was a victim that day when I cleaned out my closet of all shirts that were gray, my favorite color I finally became sick of. You were almost on time, circling down through the branches with your startling hood, and I wished I could hold you like a parakeet trained to say things like good night or I'm hungry. But I wished you'd stay wild too, like in my most colorful dreams when you came to save me from clouds shaped like faceted diamonds. I always loved birds, but you are the kings, with gold-tipped women as gentle as field mice. I'll set out water under every tree if you raise your young among the milkweed and bindweed in my yard. You and your boldness, your lemon and licorice, trying hard to make it through this drought.
Mother Kite. Mother, you never cared about holes in socks or when a plane fell out of the sky. All redheads, you said, were the devil's relatives, but still you let the pilot inside to use the phone. How did that wind blow? When you fly a small kite in no wind, bones and skin of a kite that forecast weather, cure infertility by moonlight and sea. That take sail, knowing the scientific facts of peppermint, how cornbread can make a meal, that a well-flown kite can ward off evil for a minute in a wild horse gale. Even though there are 78 kite fighting rules, you leave the razor behind because a well-flown kite doesn't need exposed weapons. Daughter, fly me higher than Mauna Kea, higher than Mount Rainier. Listen to the string when you can't reel it in, the vibration of a wind harp made of metals. The end.
The alarm clock cannot defend itself. One day's hard light carves the windows square, sear. Will my hands to return your silver key sit round this coffee mug? July steams ahead. The first hurricane winds west to Texas, some chosen land. A lot nearer, bells weather tongues. The dog only needs to be let in, let out. You don't call again.